Good morning. Good morning. I've got to talk to that kid. I've got to have another talk with him because the first one seems to have worn off.
What kid?
We're not supposed to get out that early. Oh my goodness.
It's good.
I want you to know we're planning a party. We had so much fun on our Christmas party, we want to do another one. Not a Christmas party. We're going to have a midsummer party sometime this summer. We've already got $30 in the kitty, so anybody that wants to contribute, feel free to do so.
Where are we going? What are we going to do?
I don't know. We got to figure out what we're going to do. We might have to elect a party committee.
Barbecue.
Barbecue would be good. I got a lot of big trash. I got 2 trees that died in my backyard.
Yeah.
Need to cut them down. We could cut them down and build a fire and have a winter roast.
Yeah. Oh, s'mores, yeah.
Well, let you do it.
Being you're from the south, do you know how to roast a pig?
I know how, but I never have.
Well, we could dig a pit in your backyard. You got
I got plenty of room, and I tell you, the moles have already got it started. They're digging it up.
Well, if we dig a big pit and cook maybe that smoke.
That would be great.
We could have an aloha.
I've
Luau.
butchered a pig, but I don't think I've ever roasted one. Well, that's one announcement. 4 of us went up to Colbert Hills a week or so ago to play golf, and we tried to pay John Kerry for the gas, and he wouldn't keep the money, so he said, put that in a kitty and for the Sunday school class, and we'll start a kitty. So we're going to have a party. John's already. Oh, we're in trouble. Dunk everybody.
I need a VGA cable.
Okay. All right.
She's.
What am I trying to tell you?
Well, I thought we were in trouble. You came walking in.
We're getting you a chair.
Excuse me, I'm just I should have just got up earlier.
I don't know. It might be better if you lifted it over.
He's already done this.
Is that still aimed right?
No.
I'll get it back. Sorry, I just want you to cause all kinds of trouble.
You sure got here on time.
I was.
Well in the future, quote.
Is it aimed right? Okay.
I'm sorry.
There you go. That's okay.
There he is.
It'll work. We're glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Good.
Yeah, those are for me.
Does anybody know about Penny?
Penny's here.
There she is.
We missed you.
How are you doing?
I'm not so well, but I brought you some music.
Well, she has lost a lot of weight.
I didn't see you sitting there.
Well, I came late. For not today, but
Oh, okay.
that's my theme
Oh,
song.
yes. Be not dismayed, whatever betide. Can anybody tell me the title?
God will take care of you.
God will take care of you.
Favorite.
Beneath his wings of love abide. God will take care of you. Do you know the chorus? God will take care of you through every way. All the way. He will take care of you.
Yes.
God will take care of you. Thank you. And you remember that. You brought it.
Right.
Tell us what's going on.
Did you mark us off? Yep. I have had everybody's table marked off. Efficiency. There you go.
Keep it in your prayers. I called Carol last night because I saw I was out at the golf course yesterday afternoon after we came back from prep, and I saw that there is a list of tournaments on the board. And a week from tomorrow, there's a 9-hole couples tournament. So I called Carol to see if she could get back in time to play. I needed but I didn't get an answer. I don't,
Is she out of the hospital?
she's
you know what?
she's doing chemo outpatient.
Well, she was in the hospital.
Yeah, I don't know if she's out. Maybe that's why I didn't get an answer. She
It's
might be.
not unusual to need hydration, and they'll normally put you in the hospital for at least 24 hours to make sure you get all of it, but it's hanging.
She's a sick lady. This chemo making her very sick. Alita Smelcher was in contact with her earlier in the week and talked to me about her.
Just had 2 reports while I was after coffee. Virginia Schofield, I believe she told me it's coming home in 2 weeks.
A week from Thursday.
Good. A week from Thursday. Wonderful.
And then.
It's okay.
Margaret said that Bob, they didn't have to put a stent in, they just put a Foley on. Bob.
Yeah, I was gonna go over and see him this week, but he was so weak he wasn't wanting company. I talked to her a couple of times though, at length. He is very weak.
How's your mother?
Mom went to the oncologist out there in Colorado Springs last Monday, and I think she got a surprise. Because she sent us an email when she got back from the oncologist and said, well, they just confirmed what the oncologist in Wichita told me. I think maybe Mom was thinking they would reverse the diagnosis. I don't know. She's due to start chemo a week from Tuesday. So she'll do that for a month, and then they'll check on her. So
I don't understand.
It's insidious, I hate it.
Yes.
and keep this 11-year-old granddaughter in your prayers, because that's
Your granddaughter?
no, the one I mentioned in service.
Okay.
The 11-year-old who they think
Oklahoma.
attempted suicide this
Oh,
morning.
no, 11 years old.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a baby.
we went to a funeral yesterday for a 102-year-old man, and my mom's 92. If she makes it to June, she'll be 93 in June. And here's an 11-year-old that has decided or thinks life's not worth it. You know,
She doesn't even have the capabilities of deciding that.
yeah.
Does anybody know any history as to why she's doing this? I mean,
Well, she does have some diagnosis problems that apparently that might be an issue. So that's part of it. I don't know what those all are, but that's part of it. But that's scary. You know, we need to keep that young lady in our prayers and her family. Let's be in prayer. Gracious God, as we come together this morning, we come to hear your word and to study and to know your presence again. But we come with heavy hearts because so many of our friends have issues. They are suffering. We need your healing touch so badly with so many. Lord, especially this morning we lift up to you Carol and my mom and Hazel and this little 11-year-old Ariana. We lift up to you Penny. We ask for your special presence in special ways, for your healing touch to bring comfort and peace and wholeness. Lord, hear our prayers as we come with heavy hearts. Bless us now with your grace. Lift us into your presence spiritually. In Jesus' name, amen. I want to tell you a little story. Ivan Adams was 102. He was a farmer all of his life. Born April 4, 1912. They had, of course, the picture collage on the TV screens at the mortuary yesterday, and it was interesting. Started out with a horse and wagon. A horse and wagon. Then he had a Model T Ford. And then he had it was obviously a 30s model something, and on into the 40s. And just imagine, 102 years. Imagine all of the changes he went through. He saw on that farm. Some of the first pictures on the farm were of one of those old threshing machines at work.
I've seen them. We had done that.
Wow.
I've seen
Some of you've been through those kind of changes, you know,
Yeah, we
from the
did that.
threshing
I've
machine.
seen it.
My goodness.
Boy, just to think that he was born only 50 years after the Civil War started.
Well, yeah.
That's,
He was born 3 years before World War I started. World War I started in 1914, late in the year. Wow. Well, they told this story about Ivan. One of his sons-in-law told this little story. He said, I was helping Ivan on the farm some years ago, and during harvest, and he said, Ivan wanted to stop early because he wanted to go to the house and build a porch on the east side of the house. So they went to the house to start working on the porch. And Melva, his wife was 97 when she died in December of 2012, just a little over, about a year and a half ago. She was 97. They were married 77 years.
Wow.
He was sitting beside her bed when she died, holding her hand. They started to work on that porch, and Melva came out of the house and really crawled all over Ivan about building a porch over her flower beds. She did not want a porch built there where her flower beds. She gave him what for, and she went back in the house. And Ivan looked at his son-in-law and said, I don't know what's the matter with her. I told her 50 years ago I was going to build a porch. Can you think of anything you told your wife 50 years ago, Bob? I told her 50 years ago I was going to build a porch. This is Ivan.
nice picture.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to read you something that was in the funeral folder. There's a poem in here that is magnificent, but it's long. This is a poem written by one of his grandsons in 1994. And it's Unspoken Lessons. There's a lesson to be learned on my granddad's farm, one I never realized till now. A silent symbol between the house and the barn. It speaks of time and the sweat of his brow. That's he was just a teenager, I think, when he wrote that. That's an amazing poem. But this was also in there. Some of you may relate to this. They buried a farmer today. They buried a farmer today. Gave him back to the dirt from which he came. Earlier, his family and neighbors walked by, looking at memories of a simple man's life. A table of photos, toy tractors, and cards telling the story of life on the farm. There are the overalls he wore every day, except on Sunday, when he bowed his head to pray. All things that kept him close to his roots, not born in a barn, but not far away. From the fields where a boy learned how to play. There are photos of his children and grandchildren too. And he and his wife, there are more than a few. The smiles betray the hard times that he faced, the worries and fears the prophets erased. By weather and markets out of his hands, in the end all he really had was his land. The soil, the crops, and even the weeds. To his way of thinking, that's all he would need to take care of his family and help them stay safe. From a faster-paced world, not too far away. A good life, a simple life, that's what he led. He'd struggled like most, but came out ahead. and eventually retirement, if ever a farmer could stop worrying or working, but he did it for good. He enjoyed his last years and made sure that he thanked the good Lord above for his life and his land. His time ended quickly, his loved ones in tears, hoping he knew what he meant to them all through the years. Today they gather to remember and pray about a simple man they loved who was there every day. Through joy and sorrow, laughter and pain, he was there when they needed him, right up to the end. Out to the cemetery, they carry him home to a small plot of land just under a stone, for they know he's at peace and praying for them as they stand on a slope not far from his land. The service now is over. They leave him alone, knowing someday he'll greet them once more. A dust cloud forms as the trucks drive away. They buried a farmer today. And that was Ivan. Isn't that great?
Now, did one of his
No,
family
I
members
don't know
write
where they
that,
found
or-
that, but
Okay.
I
Where
don't
did
know
he
who wrote that.
live? Where did he live and farm at?
He farmed in Cullison, Kansas. Do you know where Cullison, Kansas is?
No.
It's 8 or 10 miles west of Pratt on highway, used to be 54, I guess it still is, but it's now called 400 too. Right on the highway. Highway goes right through Cullison, and they were north of town a ways on the farm. Went to the Cullison United Methodist Church. When they started there, it was the Cullison Methodist Church. It's now closed, and so his membership's been moved to Iuka, which is north of Pratt, about 6 or 7 miles. He had 4 daughters, 2 of them were twins. I happened to know her back in the early 90s and happened to have her funeral. She died of a brain tumor back about 92 or 3. That was Marlene's Whitaker's sister. And most of you know Marlene and Tom. I didn't get to know Marlene through that, but I did meet her one time. But we didn't really get to know them until about 10 or 12 years later. And my goodness, what great people they are. Cullison, Kansas has one little claim to fame. If you go through Cullison on Highway 400, there are 4 little dirt streets that make up Cullison, Kansas. I think there's 2 that run east and west, and 4 run north and south. And all 4 of them meet out on Highway 400. I mean, you just go right into Highway 400 on those 4 little dirt streets. Somebody out there has a great sense of humor, because on the 2 signs on each end of town, it says, "Welcome to Cullison, Kansas, next 4 exits." That's clever. Well, that's our stories for today. Whoa, I got this upside down. We have a couple of new people here today. Would you introduce yourself to me?
I'm Daryl, this is my wife Lori.
Nice to meet you.
And where are you from?
We normally go to church at Chapel Hill United, up on 13th and 10th.
Yeah. Jeff
And,
Gannon.
yeah, with Jeff Gannon. And we're looking for something closer.
Relocating to Derby.
Yeah.
We've been living here since 2008.
Oh. Yeah.
And I've been a member of Chapel Hill since a year after its beginning.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're
Well-
just kind of exploring some opportunities, and this is our second time back here. I mean, the first time we came for the contemporary service, and then I wanted to see the traditional service.
Well, in '94, they asked Jeff to start that congregation, and they started that in '95, meeting in a school at Collegiate.
Yep.
In '96, they were strong enough already in a year's time, with about 100 in attendance on the average. And they sent Jeff out there full time and gave me his previous church, or added it to the one I already had. Bethel was about a mile from the church I was serving. And so when Jeff left and half that congregation went out there with him, why, didn't leave much at Bethel.
Yeah.
So I kind of got in on the ground floor of that thing too. Well, they had quite a Sunday last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess now.
Yeah,
Dedicated that new sanctuary. Wow.
that they did.
Well, it's quite a story out there. I always thought, you know, they started a church in southeast Wichita several years before Chapel Hill, and it never has gotten off the ground. Then they started Chapel Hill, and they did that one differently, and they did it right. And it's been quite a story. So congratulations and welcome. Welcome to Woodlawn. This group is called Pastor's Bible Hour, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you'll discover you enjoy this group as much as I do. This is a great group.
We travel.
Well, some of us get to. Some of us get to.
We're working on, by the way, speaking of which, we're working on a couple of trips, day trips with the church bus. We'll probably have to go twice. I was in Oklahoma City on Friday, and at the memorial, the National Memorial. I don't know if you've been there. How many of you have been to the National Memorial? We need to go. We need to go and spend some time there.
It's heartbreaking.
It's quite a place. They've really done some beautiful things with that spot where the Murrah building was sitting. It's quite a memorial. So we need to go see that, and there's just so many things down there I discovered that we could make it a day and get back around 6 or 6:30 in the evening. So that's coming up pretty soon. And golfers, every time I go by Guthrie, I think, golly, we need to load that bus and get down there to Guthrie. They got 4 golf courses over there just begging for players.
Just need to do a golf trip down there.
Guthrie's another place we need to go for the day. Have any of you ever spent a day in Guthrie and taken that tour around the city?
I always wanted to do that murder mystery
The murder mystery?
dinner. Isn't that in Guthrie?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a murder mystery, like a bed and breakfast or something,
Oh,
and then
really?
they do a murder mystery
Oh.
dinner. I've always wanted to do
So
that.
you stay in the bed and breakfast and they have a murder overnight?
Well, is it a bed and breakfast? It's a hotel, and all the guests get together for dinner, and then.
But you're given roles beforehand when you make your reservation.
Oh, you become part of the play?
Oh, right, and
Yeah.
my daughter and son-in-law did it.
Yeah, then somebody gets murdered during dinner and you have to
Figure it out.
figure it out.
Figure out whether it's your character or not.
Does it make
No,
a
but
mess
I've
at
been
the
to them
table?
before. Not that
I think they get it by the rope, not the knife.
Yeah. Gee whiz.
one. I've been to one, wasn't down there, but it's quite a bit of fun trying to figure out who
A
did
very
it.
good barbecue place there too.
We need to find that. Yeah, we've got that trip, and we're also thinking we need to go to Lindsborg for a day and check out Lindsborg.
I want a long trip. I want a 4 or 5 day trip.
You know what? When we got back from Nashville, Eileen said no more. No more 6-day trips, no more. But I kept saying St. Louis? St. Louis? Could we do St. Louis? And so she's coming around and she's starting to think about putting together 6 days to St. Louis.
There's a lot of free stuff in St. Louis.
Yeah, we got,
Their
yeah.
zoo is free, their botanical gardens. It's
wow.
good
Well,
place
yeah,
to
and
go.
not only that, Busch Gardens is, we could go through the Busch plant too.
Have you been through there? Have you been through Busch?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. I hear the stables are cleaner than
Oh,
most
the
people's
stables
houses.
are amazing. Oh, and the stables, by the way, for the Clydesdale are right out there next door. I mean, it's like, the land just runs right up together to Grant's Farm.
Yeah.
Ulysses Grant's farm.
Oh,
And historical home and everything's right there, and all the horses are right beside it. So it's yeah, we could get to St. Louis in one day. We wouldn't see it. The thing that Eileen didn't like was changing motels 3 times.
yeah, yeah.
So
I had a friend.
We could get to St. Louis in one day and do St. Louis 3 or 4 days and then come back in a day.
Or go to Guthrie on the way out.
Shop.
See, St. Louis is over here and Guthrie's over here. But we could do that, yes we could. Highway 44 goes right to Oklahoma.
We don't party.
Isn't this fun?
Could we go see the Cardinals?
We could go see the Cardinals, yes we could.
And they got my car fixed and I was
If you've never been in Busch Stadium, you really need that experience. It is quite a stadium.
And I still have to.
Yes, you sit there and watch that ball game, and here's the arch right out there in the outfield. I knew we could go through the arch.
Yeah.
Have you been up in the arch?
I'm not going to get
I went up there and didn't give me any problems at all. I took a lot of pictures hanging out that window and got down to the floor, to the ground, and looked up and about passed out.
Yeah, it takes a while to get there on those little cars.
It's an interesting trip. Yeah, we got to put St. Louis together. Okay. Keep those things in the back of your mind. We're about ready to do it again. Eileen wears out and then she recovers, and
Then she's ready to go.
I just have to keep edging her along.
Appointed. Did you get the party chairman appointed?
Did I get what?
A party chairman for our.
Oh, no, I didn't.
What party?
Do you want a party chairman for the summer party?
Oh, summer.
The summer,
Can you be the chairman?
oh. I'd rather have somebody else be the chairman.
I'll work on it if someone will work with me.
Okay, who else? Who's gonna work? We're gonna bid, making bids here. Who's gonna work with Evelyn? Evelyn, do I hear?
Shirley?
Shirley? Do I hear Shirley? No. I don't hear Shirley. Do I hear
No,
Sue?
I didn't.
Okay, Mary's gonna help.
Mary over here.
We got any good party people here?
I have a suggestion. I think the money that we take up here ought to go into our party fund.
Our party fund.
Well, okay.
Because it generally just goes into the general fund.
Does it really?
I checked on it this week.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
And then we could have a really good party.
We might even bring in an entertainer. Who knows? All right. I have, I missed my clock on the wall.
Could we go through the Budweiser brewery?
Did you just wake him up? We've already decided that's one of the stops.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Summer party.
Oh,
We got a swimming party.
As long as the bishop doesn't find out, right? Right. Or the Budweiser.
okay.
You won't gripe, there's a
Well,
sentence.
have you noticed that they painted this room?
Yeah. I like the color.
The walls are almost the same color they were, except they got that little border around the top.
on the paper.
And they haven't even put the sockets back together yet.
Yeah.
They're all up here.
Or the clock. There's the
There's
clock.
the clock. Here, give me the clock. I'll hold it for you.
It's running. I can see it. It's running. It is now 5 minutes till 10.
Do you want us to prop it? Here, we'll hold the clock up here.
We'll let you know when it's time.
Okay, it's time to get serious. As though we weren't. I have not known where to go yet. Next, we've just finished 1 Corinthians. Have you noticed we did finish 1 Corinthians?
I was out of town yesterday.
I know, but we did finish while you were gone.
And we don't need a review, just for Marcia.
We're going to go to 2 Corinthians. For a little review to start 2 Corinthians. Remember, Corinth, in the time of Paul in the 1st century AD, Corinth was one of the major cities of the Roman Empire. Corinth had been completely, totally destroyed by the Roman armies in the year 146 BC. 146 BC, as the Romans were unifying what became their empire. That was finally completed under Julius Caesar, some probably 40 to 50 years before Christ's birth. Maybe not quite that long, 20 to 30 years before Christ's birth. The empire was completed. So as part of that building up the Roman Empire, Corinth had been totally destroyed. And for 100 years just was in ruins. Julius Caesar, in fact, rebuilt the city in the 40s BC. It became again one of the major cities. It was a Roman capital, a Roman colony. So any soldiers in the Roman army who retired from duty were generally sent to places like Corinth, many of them to Corinth itself. They were given a plot of land and made citizens of the Roman Empire after their service in the army. That was sort of a Roman process of doing things. So a lot of the landowners in and around Corinth by the time of Paul were former Roman soldiers or descendants of Roman soldiers. They were Roman citizens. It was a major commercial city from the north and south, east and west. Traffic went through Corinth. So that it became a very wealthy city. To be a Roman colony in that designation in that day was in itself a major accomplishment. So Corinth had a lot of things going for it, but it had a terrible reputation. Well, it depends on how you looked at it, I guess. Do you think that Las Vegas has a great reputation or a bad reputation?
Both.
Yeah. Las Vegas is commonly known as
Sin
Sin City. Well, that was Corinth in that day. Corinth definitely was Sin City. You could find any vice in Corinth that you ever wanted to find. There was a major temple on a hill overlooking Corinth. A major temple to Aphrodite. Now, who was Aphrodite?
Goddess of love. Greek goddess.
Goddess of love in the Roman system of gods, in the Greek system and the Roman system. Aphrodite in Greek and in Roman, I can't remember what her name was. And so it is said that there were 1,000 priestesses who ministered at that temple, at the temple of Aphrodite. Well, if Aphrodite is the goddess of love, and that's the patron saint or patron goddess of the city, what do you suppose that's like? The goddess of love?
A lot of love in that city.
A lot of love going on.
That's what Jesus
wow.
taught us
It is
to do,
said
was to
that
love one another.
Yes. All the priestesses of the temple would come down to the city streets at night. It was kind of like, I guess, I've never been down there. Well, I have been down there. I rode with a police officer one time. You know him. Yeah, I can't think of his name now.
Venus was the Roman equivalent.
Oh, John Coffey.
John Cocking. I rode with John one time. What was the equivalent?
Venus.
Venus. Oh, Venus was a Roman equivalent, yes, to Aphrodite. Well, actually, the Romans just adopted all the Greek gods. When Rome conquered Greece, they just adopted all the Greek gods and goddesses, but they gave them Latin names or Roman names. So all the names were changed, and Aphrodite became Venus in Rome. So it's the same goddess, just a new name. I rode with John Cocking one time when he was a police officer in Wichita. It was a long time ago. And his beat was southwest Wichita. The east border of his beat was Broadway, South Broadway. And so, yeah, we spent a little time down there, and John knew some of those folks. John, I don't know if you knew this, John, when he left the police department, became a nurse, a registered nurse, but John worked Vice undercover for 2 or 3 years, grew a beard. I mean, he looked like a homeless person for those 2 or 3 years, and nobody knew where he was, you know, I mean, where he was working, but he was on the streets. But we were on South Broadway that day, and we, quote, rousted a couple of young ladies who were working the street. So, yeah, I've been down there, so I know a little bit about it. Not firsthand, but, you know, I was in the car safely with John. The priestesses went down to Corinth at night and did their thing.
That's what they were priestesses of.
That's right. That's what they were priestesses of, love. So they were sharing the love. They said, I love you, and ain't nothing you can do about Okay, that's Corinth, and that's where the church grew. Paul was in Corinth on his second missionary journey, and ended up, that journey started at the north in Macedonia, which was the home of Alexander the Great and his father Philip, Mason, and worked his way down the peninsula and ended up at Corinth. Eventually, he spent 18 months at Corinth. It's the longest he spent in any church in his work, except for the church at Ephesus, which was sort of his home church. 18 months he was at Corinth, building the church. And as soon as he leaves, he gets word that there's just all kinds of problems in Corinth. And 1 Corinthians is a letter that answers a letter and some visitors that Paul got when he was in Ephesus. They came from Corinth with a lot of questions. What should we do about this issue, and this issue, and this issue? What should we believe about this and this and this? And how should we practice being a Christian? What are some things that we can do and some things that we cannot do as Christians? I mean, remember, they come from pagan religions, most of those converts in Corinth. And they didn't understand this whole concept of Christianity and the love of Jesus. So they had a lot of questions, and Paul answers those questions in the first letter. We think there were at least 4 letters to the Corinthians. At least 4, because in 1 Corinthians, Paul mentions a former letter, a previous letter. He says something about, in the letter that I wrote you. So there must have been a letter before 1 Corinthians, or the book that we know as 1 Corinthians. That letter got lost, apparently, except most scholars think that you will find that letter in the second half of chapter 6 of 2 Corinthians. And apparently there was not much left of that letter when they began to collect all of Paul's letters about the year 90 AD. Paul had written these letters some 30 to 40 years earlier, and they had been circulating through the churches for all of those decades. Finally, somebody decided, you know, we're going to lose all these letters if we don't get them together in one place and keep them safe. And so they began to collect Paul's letters. That's how we got them and how they became part of the New Testament. This letter apparently was lost except for a fragment of it that they discovered somewhere. And so they put it together in what is now 2 Corinthians. And you'll find that in chapter 6, starting at verse 11, going through verse 1 of chapter 7. Scholars think that is the first letter that Paul wrote to Corinth. Then came what we know as 1 Corinthians. And then came a third letter, Paul hears in Ephesus, which is really not very far from Corinth, 3 or 4 days if you sailed through the Mediterranean. Paul got word that there were serious problems in Corinth. And part of the problem was Paul. There was a lot of dispute about Paul. And so Paul, we think, made a quick trip from Ephesus back to Corinth to address those problems, which he did, and the problems got terribly worse. The trip didn't work. So Paul went back to Ephesus quite discouraged, very discouraged and angry. And so he wrote a third letter to the church at Corinth, rebuking them. It was a very harsh and stern letter. And so the scholars call it the stern letter or the harsh letter. You'll find that letter in the last 3 chapters of 2 Corinthians. 10, 11, 12, 4 chapters. 10, 11, 12, and 13. That's the third letter, which was a very harsh letter. If you're reading the letter, the second book of 2 Corinthians, if you get through chapter 9, chapters 1 through 9 seem like a very nice letter, congratulating the Corinthians, recommending them, commending them, encouraging them. And then you get to chapter 10 and it seems terribly different, terribly harsh in the last 4 chapters. We think that is the third letter that Paul wrote, which was really harsh and reprimanded the church at Corinth for their divisions and for their infighting.
But didn't in the first letter also basically lambaste the Corinthians for the behaviors that they were exhibiting during the communion?
But not like the third letter did. It was not that harsh. He did address those issues in the first letter that we just finished studying. Chapter 11, he's talking about why do you desecrate the Lord's table? You come early and you don't wait for the others to come, and you get drunk and you drink all the wine, and you eat all the food, and then the latecomers don't have anything. So he reprimanded them for that. And it's in chapter 11 of 1 Corinthians that we get our words of institution that we use mostly in our communion services. We used them this morning. Nowhere else does Jesus say, "Do this in remembrance of me." That's in chapter 11 of 1 Corinthians. If you look at the gospel stories of the meal in the upper room, that phrase is not included in the Gospels, but it is included in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Paul says, "This is what the Lord told me. This is how it was instituted." And so if you have a red letter Bible and you look at chapter 11 in 1 Corinthians, which was written probably in the mid-50s, 25 years after Christ's death, you'll find the words of institution, chapter 11, in red letters, as though Jesus himself is talking. Paul is saying, Jesus told me this directly, person to person himself. So I got this on pretty good authority, he's saying to the Corinthians. That's the only part I think in any letters after the Gospels that you'll find red letters, Christ's words. So yeah, he does address those problems and that issue of division in 1 Corinthians. Paul delivered that third letter to the Corinthians, and he was waiting for an answer, and he got impatient. The answer was slow in coming, apparently. So Paul decided to go to Corinth. or at least to go and meet the messenger that was supposed to bring him word of how they received that harsh letter. And so he set out to go to Corinth. And he met the messenger somewhere in Greece, or maybe Asia Minor somewhere. He met him on the way to Corinth before he got there, and was told that everything seems to have been worked out. And the church in Corinth seems to be at peace. So Paul was so thankful that he wrote one more letter. And that is the first 9 chapters of 2 Corinthians. And that is a letter of commendation. That's a very peaceful letter, not a harsh letter, not rebuking them, but congratulating them, and as though everything is worked out in the church now. Boy, I wish that were true. I wish that was always true. So that's where we come up with 2 Corinthians. It's more or less the rest of Paul's correspondence with the church in Corinth.
I'm sorry, what did you say that part of 2 Corinthians was the first letter? That was what chapter?
That's half of chapter 6.
Okay.
The second half of chapter 6. My study Bible, there's a heading there.
It talks about, this is Paul's hardships.
Yeah. My study Bible says the theme of 2 Corinthians is Paul's authority. That was one of the major issues at stake in the church in Corinth after Paul left. One of the complaints in the church in Corinth was he writes pretty firm letters. He writes pretty harsh letters. He loves to tell us what for in every one of his letters, but when he's with us face to face, he's a milquetoast. He doesn't have any backbone. He's afraid to say those things to our face. But when he's away from us, he gets really bold. And that was the complaint about Paul. When Paul hears that, it really upset him.
Well, blame him, not themselves.
So, you know, he writes to defend, basically to defend himself. I don't know whether that's good or bad. You know, if you have to write letters to defend yourself, you might be in trouble to begin with.
Well,
Better to probably just let it go. But Paul experienced this in every church, I think, that he had started. At some time or another, after he left those churches, he started a lot of churches. There were people who came through the country who didn't like Paul, who disagreed with Paul's preaching, disagreed with the message that Paul preached. I suppose to characterize it in today's terminology, it was like Paul was a wild liberal, and others were conservative. And they came through to correct all of that misinformation that Paul had told them. Mainly, what did Paul tell them? Paul preached a message of freedom. Freedom from the Jewish law. Most of these folks who opposed Paul, who came in after Paul to try to, quote, correct what he preached, were former Jews. Well, so was Paul. Paul was a Pharisee. He says in one of his letters, he was a Pharisee of Pharisees. What does that say to you?
I was the best of the best.
I like that. He was good at it. He was a Pharisee and he was good at being a Pharisee. He had attended the best schools. He had studied under the best rabbis. And in Judaism, even today, that is important, who you studied under and the interpretations you received in studying. Probably true in all of our seminaries. You're probably going to be formed by whatever your seminary professors teach you. And You know, sometimes that's a fight and sometimes it's not. I had a 3-year fight with seminary, and I still fight some of the things they taught me, or tried to teach me. I tried not to learn them. But those influences rub off on you, you know, and they go with you. So Paul in one letter referred to these folks as the dogs. Beware of the dogs, he says. These people who come after me and tear up the church by telling you that what I'm preaching to you is not true. Paul preached freedom from the Jewish law. You did not have to. He said the Jewish law never saved anybody. It just points out what is sin. And there's no way to get around it. We're sinners. And the only way that we get around it, Paul says, the only cure for our sin, Adam referred to it this morning as we screw up. Yeah, that's what that means is we sin. I guess that's the new term for sin. We just screw up. You know, I'm not sure that says it all, but we make a lot of mistakes. Paul said the law won't save you from your sins. It'll point out to you what your sins are, but it can't save you. Only what saves us? Christ. And that's the grace of God. In Ephesians, Paul wrote, we are saved by faith. It is by grace we are saved through our faith in Jesus Christ. And not by our good works. Not by keeping all the laws. That won't save us. It is the grace of God that saves us. And that's a free gift. It's not that we earned it. It's a free gift from God's love. So that's what Paul is preaching. Freedom from the law. And secondly, he allowed people who were Gentiles, we've talked about this before, he allowed people who were Gentiles one day to become Christians the next day. You could come out of a pagan religion, confess your sins and profess Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord, and be saved. One step right into it. Well, these people who came after Paul said, oh, no. You first, if you're a Gentile, first you have to become a good Jew and keep all of the law, and then you can become a Christian and believe on Christ. I like to call that the Jewish two-step. For those of you who like to dance, that's the Jewish two-step. But Paul eliminated one of the steps. And so those Jewish Christians didn't like that. They said, that doesn't work that way. Don't believe what Paul told you. Well, if Paul's been preaching this for 1.5 years in Corinth, and then they come in right behind him and dispute all of this, can you imagine how those Christians, how confused they must have been in Corinth? And that upset Paul. So in many of Paul's letters, he takes on these people who come after him to try to, quote, correct what he had preached. So that's what's going on. So Paul wants to defend himself. Another issue was Paul's not really an apostle. Paul didn't know Jesus. Paul didn't walk Galilee and Palestine with Jesus for 3 years. He was not at the supper in the upper room. He was not in the Garden of Gethsemane sleeping while Jesus was praying. He was not an apostle. But Paul referred to himself in all of his letters as an apostle of Jesus Christ. And Paul claimed to be equal with the other 12, or 11, if you eliminate Judas. He claimed equality with the apostles. And that was always in a dispute in the churches that Paul started, because those folks came in behind him and said, don't believe that. He's not an apostle. He didn't have Jesus' blessing. Paul says he did.
Wasn't Paul one of the instrumental ones at the Jerusalem Council when they met and was discussing about circumcision and other factors as well? But
That was
Paul-
another of Paul's preaching. You don't have to be circumcised.
Right, Paul was there with James, arguing his point, from his
Yeah.
conversion.
Yeah.
And I think that was, after Corinth, after his
Well,
time at Corinth,
he
if
went
I
to-
remember my history right.
Paul was on his way to Damascus when he encountered the living Christ. And that's Paul's claim right there to discipleship. He met Christ, person to person. And it was Christ who called him to be my messenger, my apostle to the Gentiles. That's where he claims that's what he claims is his authority. So sometime after that, we don't know a timetable. After that trip to Damascus and after that experience with Christ on the Damascus Road, we don't know what happened with Paul, where he went from there, that moment. We know he stayed in Damascus for a while. Probably, we don't know where he went for sure. Paul tries in some of his letters, 2 Corinthians is one of them, to give us some sort of timetable about his life. 2 Corinthians is in some ways an autobiography of Paul. We think Paul spent probably as much as 14 years after that conversion experience before he really went out as a missionary and started churches. So when did that, he was going out in the late 40s probably, as early possibly as the mid-40s. Well, that would be 15 years or so after Christ's death and resurrection. What happened to Paul in those intervening years, we don't know. We think maybe he spent a lot of time in a desert community somewhere, communing with God, and maybe that's where he got all of his theology and his preachings. Somewhere after that period of time, or somewhere in that period of time, he went to Jerusalem to meet with the leaders of the church. By that time, the leader of the church in Jerusalem is Jesus' brother, James, not the apostle James, but Jesus' brother, James, and the other apostles. And he goes to Jerusalem to meet with them before he embarks on missionary journeys. We do know that after about 15 years or so, Paul is back in Tarsus, his hometown, when the rumor comes to Jerusalem that the Holy Spirit has